After spending 10 unforgettable days on our honeymoon in Hawaii, Emily and I couldn't wait to get home. We dreamed of relaxing in our backyard and starting our new life together. But as we turned onto our street, something immediately felt wrong. A massive brick wall now stood where our open property had always been. I slammed on the brakes and stared in disbelief. The wall stretched across nearly the entire front portion of my land. It wasn't temporary fencing. It was permanent brick construction. My wife whispered, "Ethan, what did they do?" Fresh tire tracks covered my driveway, and construction equipment had only recently left. Workers had finished the project while we were thousands of miles away. Nobody had called us. Nobody had asked for permission. Then I noticed a white envelope taped to the front gate. It carried the HOA logo in bold blue letters. My stomach sank before I even opened it. The letter claimed the HOA had improved neighborhood security by extending the community wall across what they described as unused land. Except that unused land happened to be my legally owned property. I laughed for a second because I honestly thought it had to be a joke. No HOA has the authority to build permanent structures on private property without permission. But the wall behind me proved this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was real. The next morning, I walked straight into the HOA office. Linda Harper, the HOA president, greeted me with a smug smile as if she'd been expecting me. She didn't look surprised at all. Linda calmly explained that the board had voted while we were on our honeymoon. According to her, the wall increased neighborhood security and improved everyone's property values. She acted like my ownership didn't matter. I placed my property survey on her desk. Every boundary line clearly showed the wall sitting entirely on my land. Her smile slowly disappeared as she realized I had proof. Instead of apologizing, Linda crossed her arms. She claimed the HOA's attorneys had already approved everything. Then she suggested I simply learn to live with it. I walked out without raising my voice. Arguing wasn't going to solve anything. If they believed paperwork gave them power, I was about to remind them what property law actually looked like. That afternoon, I called a licensed land surveyor. Within hours, every property line was professionally verified again. The results matched exactly what I already knew. The surveyor looked at the wall and shook his head. He quietly admitted he'd never seen an HOA make a mistake this expensive. Hearing that confirmed I wasn't overreacting. I hired one of the best real estate attorneys in the county. After reviewing every document, he smiled and said, "This case is much bigger than they realize." My attorney discovered something unexpected. The HOA had never received the permits required to extend the wall beyond the original neighborhood boundary. They had skipped the legal process entirely. Instead of filing the lawsuit immediately, my attorney suggested patience. Sometimes giving people one last chance to correct their mistake creates an even stronger legal position later. We sent the HOA a formal legal notice demanding immediate removal of the wall. They had 14 days to respond before additional legal action would begin. 13 days passed without a single response. On the 14th day, the HOA finally replied. Their answer contained only one sentence. "The board declines your request." My attorney smiled when he read their response. "Perfect," he said. "They've just made this case much easier." For the first time since returning home, I felt completely confident. But instead of rushing into court, I had another idea, one that stayed completely within the law. If the HOA believed walls solved problems, I was about to give them a lesson they'd never forget. My attorney confirmed that I had every legal right to improve my own property. So instead of tearing their wall down, I hired a construction company to build a decorative privacy wall completely inside my property line. Every permit was approved before a single brick was laid. Construction started the following Monday. Curious neighbors gathered on the sidewalks, wondering what I was building. No one realized my project was about to expose the HOA's biggest mistake. As the new wall rose higher, Linda Harper drove by every afternoon. She slowed her SUV to watch but never stopped to ask questions. Her confidence slowly turned into visible concern. By the end of the week, the project was finished. My new wall never crossed a single property line, but its location completely blocked the private access route the HOA had been using without permission for years. The next morning, HOA maintenance trucks couldn't reach several neighborhood driveways through the unauthorized shortcut. Within minutes, frustrated board members began making phone calls. Suddenly, they wanted to negotiate. Linda arrived at my front door asking for an emergency meeting. This time, her confident smile was gone. She politely asked if we could work something out. I calmly explained that my wall was fully permitted and entirely on my property. If the HOA wanted easy access again, they first needed to remove every brick they had illegally built on my land. Less than a week later, construction crews hired by the HOA returned. This time they weren't building. They were carefully removing every section of the illegal wall from my property. Once the last brick was gone, my property looked exactly as it had before our honeymoon. The HOA also paid every legal fee, survey expense, and construction costs as part of the settlement. Sometimes patience is the strongest response. The HOA thought they could take advantage of an empty house while we were away. Instead, they learned that respecting property rights is always cheaper than ignoring them. Thanks for watching, and remember, always know your rights before giving in. If you enjoyed this HOA story and want more incredible neighborhood justice stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next upload. Where are you watching from? Let us know your city and state in the comments below.